Jackson? No, Jackson. Kokendorfer?
Yes.
Kowal?
Here.
Long?
Here.
McGilvery? Middleton?
Here.
Quarles? God, I can't speak. Nancy? Not here. Spiz?
Present.
Taub? Teets? Weipert? Woodward? Zach? Quarles is here. And Bowman? Okay. Jackson? Jackson? Here? Thank you. Okay. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now we'll move on to invocation. I'll call on Commissioner Kokendorfer. I ask everyone to please rise and stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear God, leadership is hard to define. Lord, let us be the ones to define it with courage. Leadership is not about watching and correcting. Lord, let us remember it is about listening and connecting. Leadership is less about the love of power and more about the power of love. Lord, as we continue to undertake the role of leaders, let us be affirmed by the servant leadership we witness in your Son Jesus. Let us walk in the path he has set, and let those who will follow. Let our greatest passion be compassion, our greatest strength love, our greatest victory the reward of peace. In leading, let us never fail to follow. In loving, let us never fail. Amen.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the next item, which is approval of the minutes from our May 17th, 2018 meeting. Take a motion by Dwyer, supported by Fleming. All in favor of the motion and the minutes from May 17th, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. Move on to approval of the agenda, and I'll call on the Majority Caucus Chair, Commissioner Taub. Some are, some aren't. We have some technical difficulties. So moved the agenda as amended by Commissioner Taub, supported by Commissioner McGilvery. Any questions, comments on the agenda? Seeing none, roll call, please.
On the agenda as amended, Commissioners Bowman? Crawford? Dwyer? Fleming? Gershenson? Hoffman? Jackson? Kokendorfer? Kowal?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
McGilvery? Middleton?
Yes.
Quarles? Spiz?
Yes.
Taub? Teets? Weipert? Woodward?
Yes.
Zach? Furman? Mr. Chair, you have 20 yeas, 0 nays.
Great. Agenda has been approved. We'll now move on to the communications portions of our agenda, and we'll recess from our current regular agenda for a public hearing. So I'll open a public hearing on Department of Economic Development and Community Affairs regarding the issuance of bonds, the Detroit Skating Club Incorporated project, Charter Township of Bloomfield. Is there anyone here to speak on this matter specifically? Seeing none, I'll close that public hearing. I will now open another public hearing relative to the pilot local road improvement program fiscal year 2018 appropriations, City of Pontiac, resurfacing of Mill Street from Huron to Water Street, project number 2018-32. Anyone here to speak on this matter? Yes, sir. Not sure the mic is working, so you might have to speak loud.
That should be a problem.
All right, good. Please state your name for the record. And
Good morning, good evening, Commissioners. I am Pontiac City Council President Kermit Williams.
welcome.
I'm here to speak in favor of the funding for our much needed roads
Thank you very much. Anybody else here to talk on this matter? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and reopen our regular meeting agenda. With that, we're going to move on to proclamations. And this is the opportunity we take as commissioners to recognize people in our community for great things that have been done. With that, the first proclamation, I'll call on Commissioner Weipert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a special time of these meetings where we recognize special people who serve the county and given a lot of their time, volunteered a lot of time. And tonight I'm honored to bring up Heidi Krizu. She has worked for the Board of Canvassers, given up weeks and weeks and weeks after every election and counted the ballots and certified the elections. And tonight we're honored to give her a proclamation from the entire Board of Commissioners. I'd like to take an opportunity to read that. If Lisa knows it very well. Lisa Brown, our county clerk, has worked with Heidi very closely on the elections. And Heidi knows every one of the commissioners' names because she's seen our names in all the elections and certified the elections, including Lisa Brown and all the county elections. So I'd like to read this proclamation for you. So on behalf of all the Board of Commissioners. Whereas we are all indebted to the special individuals who dedicate themselves to improving the community through their work in the public sector, whereas Heidi Krizu is one of those individuals having served the Oakland County Board of Canvassers since 1998 as a member of the canvassing team, and whereas in 2001, Heidi was elected to the Board of Canvassers and has served as vice chair and then as chairperson since 2012. She has previously served as Lyon Township as a clerk for Lyon Township, whereas on the occasion of her retirement from the Oakland County Board of Canvassers, we joined with Heidi's family, including her husband Dave, of 37 years who's here, her children, her many colleagues, her friends, to honor and congratulate her for 2 decades of dedicated service. We thank her for her incredible commitment to Oakland County and her countless contributions to the community. Now, therefore, I, Michael J. Gingell, chairman of the Oakland County Board of Commissioners, together with Philip Weipert and the entire Oakland County Board of Commissioners, hereby proclaim special commendation to Heidi, and we wish her all best wishes in her retirement. So please congratulate Heidi.
Thank you, Commissioner Weipert. And thank you, Board of Commissioners, Clerk Lisa Brown, my family, for supporting my appointment. I have enjoyed being a part of the canvassing team. I've had the pleasure of being a small part of and a witness to many improvements to the canvassing process over 20 years. A great number of those improvements occurring during Director of Elections Joe Rosel's leadership. I also want to thank current and former canvassing board members and workers for their efforts and support over the years. I've had the honor of working with people dedicated to guaranteeing the accuracy of elections held in Oakland County. A very special thanks to my mentor, the late Elaine Scarrett, without whom I would not be standing here today. Canvassing has been a wonderful experience, one I will always value. I'm confident that the Oakland County Board of Canvassers will continue to help ensure that every registered voter's vote counts. Thank you again.
I just wanted to say one more thank you to Heidi. She has been an absolute asset to Oakland County. I am sad that we have lost her to Livingston County. I have sought her counsel on more than one occasion during the canvass as to how do I make this balance, what do I do? She just has been wonderful, and it is a true loss for us. So, but I do wish you all the best in Livingston. So thank you for all of your years of helping Oakland County.
Thank you very much. Next, we have another proclamation for the Bloomfield Hills High School First Robotics Team. I will call on Commissioner Taub, Commissioner Gershenson, and any other commissioner that represents the Bloomfield Hills School District. Come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When you think of the very best in the whole world, in soccer, you may think of Pele. And in baseball, you may think of Babe Ruth, the best in the world. And in horse racing, of course, we think of Justify, who just won the Triple Crown. In basketball, many of us think of Michael Jordan, the best in the world. And of course, I always think of Tom Brady, the best quarterback in the world. Now, each and every one of you have the opportunity to meet the very best robotics team in the world from Bloomfield Hills High School. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Whereas Oakland County is proud of the talented, dedicated, and noteworthy young people who represent our communities so honorably on the world stage. And whereas on April 28th, 2018, the Bloomfield Hills High School robotics team, known as the Bionic Blackhawks, were the recipients of the Chairman's Award at the 2018 First Championship at Ford Field. And, come on, Marcia.
Still can't get over this is the best in the world.
It is.
Which one?
Where that one?
Whereas this award-winning team, which includes more than 40 students and over 24 mentors who are volunteers, which is pretty incredible, from Bloomfield Hills High School, competed against 15,000 students from around the world during a 4-day event held in Detroit. Competitors were asked to solve a problem using solutions found in science, technology, engineering, and math. Tom, you want to continue?
Please. Whereas we join the Bloomfield Hills community, as well as the family and friends of these incredible students, to congratulate the Bionic Blackhawks on this very special honor. We're excited to see where their passion and talent for engineering technology takes them in the future.
Now, therefore, I, Michael J. Gingell, Chairman of the Oakland County Board of Commissioners, together with Commissioners Shelley Goodman-Tom, Tom Berman, Marcia Gershenson, and myself, Doug Tietz, as well as the entire Oakland County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim special commendation to Bloomfield Hills High School Bionic Blackhawks. We're proud of you and all you've accomplished for Oakland County. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Andy Rain. It has been my honor to be the coach of this this group, and as a coach, the honor comes to me many times on these types of occasions to say some words. Thank you for recognizing this group of our next generation of leaders in Oakland County, Michigan, and United States and the world, right? We expect great things from them as they go through their high school careers, off into college, and on to their careers. I also ask that you give recognition. I know it was mentioned in here, we're a completely volunteer-run organization. It's amazing work that is performed by the parents and mentors and all of the folks that support our team who are passionate about STEM and robotics. So please give your recognition also to our parents and mentors, as well as our team. Thank you very much.
All right.
Hello, my name is Zach Piper. I'm the captain of this team. I just graduated high school this past week, so yeah. I'll talk about it. It's my honor to be the captain of this team, as I said, and I've been doing this for 8 years, and this is my final year in this program. It's a great way to end this year. The award we won is embodied after the first for inspiration, recognition of science, technology, engineering, math first, and all the models and characteristics of it. So it's a very high honor award. We're very honored to have won it, and be up there with the best of the teams. We are now inducted into the Hall of Fame, so we sit up there with 27 other teams in the world. So it's very top elite class of teams that we are in, and we're very happy and thank you for being recognized today.
What was your robot?
Okay, yeah. Someone else want to speak about a robot?
Who's going to
Jacob can speak about a robot.
Hi, my name is Jacob Benuni. I'm one of just a handful who get to design the robot before. We take great pride in the way that we go along designing our robot. The entire team sits down as a group, brainstorms ideas. This year, our robot was capable of transporting milk crates anywhere from 0 inches off the ground to about 8.5 feet off the ground, and it did that with incredible speed. We could also climb our 120-pound robot 55 inches off the ground and transport other 120-pound robots with us, which was a great accomplishment for our team. We competed in 5 events this year, and we took home 3 blue banners consisting of our Chairman Award wins. We won all the way from our regional events all the way to the world level, which is our first award ever to be won at the world level, so kind of a good way to start, I guess. Other than that, we pride ourselves in not just doing robot things, but as the Chairman's Award winners, we pride ourselves in hosting multiple events for all age levels, from 4th grade all the way up to the high school level. And it's really been a great opportunity for us as a team to show off what we get to do and how we get to do it.
These are our future leaders. Pictures, come on, let's come up this way. Can we all kind of get together? Right in front, Joanne's going to take a picture. Where's your team today? Okay, Catherine, that guy getting one over?
Huh? You're welcome. I have to get a second shot at it.
A little bit, you can't employ this discreetly. Yeah. That's fine. You can't do that. That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
Great job, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Let's try again. Let's try again. That was awesome. I already put it on Instagram. Just that fast. It's already up.
That's what we do in our school district. That's part of the best.
I like the Bionic Blackhawks. I like that.
We were, well, when we were 2 high schools, it was the Bionic Barons. I don't know what else it was, because I did a resolution for them when I was in the house, because they won something, the Barons. And those kids were there.
There she goes. That's nice. She said something nice about Joe.
Madam Clerk, any other communications to come before us this evening?
Yes, oh, and congratulations, Blackhawks. Yes, I'm a Blackhawks mom, yes. And a graduate from Bloomfield Hills Schools. Okay, I just had to get that in. We have two communications today. The first dated June 13th, 2018 to the Oakland County Board of Commissioners. Ladies and gentlemen, please be advised of the following appointment to the Oakland County Human Trafficking Task Force Core Group pursuant to Miscellaneous Resolution 17000. One representative from the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office, Kimberly Woodard, replacing Cindy Brown Vita. Thank you, Commissioner Michael Spiz, Chairperson, Oakland County Human Trafficking Task Force. You probably already knew about that one. And the second is a report from the Local Road Improvement Program Subcommittee. It's an approval of the revised 2018 Pilot Local Road Improvement Program project application for the City of Oak Park. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Without objection, appointments will be confirmed and report will be received and filed. With that, we'll move on to the public comment portion of our agenda. Just setting some ground rules. We do have a clock up here. We do limit everyone to 3 minutes to speak, please, and the clerk will keep the time. I do have a list in front of me. If you did not get an opportunity to sign up, you will get an opportunity to speak. So with that, we'll get into public comment. First up, I have Keith Mixer.
Can you unplug this and just take it back here? Here. Can't you unplug it?
It's not the mic, it's the...
Oh, okay.
Technology at its best.
Well, they can't trip over this. Put it on that podium, but they can't trip.
Just 1 moment.
Please. No.
This one does.
Put it there, but they can't trip over it. So the plug.
Yep, come on up. Yep. Keith, come on up to this mic. Yeah, just move that one out of the way.
I hope that wasn't part of my 3 minutes. Don't worry, I'll keep it short. My name is Keith Mixer. I have a master's degree in urban planning from U of M. I focused on transportation planning and specific transit. When I moved to Novi from Ann Arbor, I was kind of disappointed because Ann Arbor has a great transportation system and allows people to move around with ease, except on weekends it's very tough, but the buses run during the weekdays, and for a person with a disability to get onto a bus and be able to go anywhere, you can access all the opportunities that the city has to offer. I have one friend who, she's deceased now. She had her own vehicle, but she was driven around. She had a stroke when she moved into Novi. She had a stroke, and she lost the ability to drive, and so she had to be driven around. She was fortunate that she could hire people to drive her around, but a lot of people don't have that opportunity. I recently got off the phone with another friend of mine who had a seizure, and this was just a few days ago, and she is now stuck in her place because she can't drive. And I mean, legally, she's kept off the roads because, you know, she might hurt someone if she had a seizure. And she can't get around, so she's stuck at home. Myself, I moved to Novi from Ann Arbor. I was driving, but then under a doctor's recommendation, I stopped driving, and I'm now having people drive me around. just getting to Pontiac from where I live in Novi was a rather lengthy drive, a cab ride for me, and it's expensive. Fortunately, I didn't foot the bill for this, but it's something to think about. But we're all going to come to grips as we age. We'll lose our ability to drive. The state might take it away, or we just can't do it. So we should give this opportunity so people can continue to lead their lives and not be stuck at home. And I see I finished with 52 seconds left. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Chris, why don't you just leave it there? No, just leave it there. That's either fine. Okay, that's fine. I was, but that's fine. All right, next we'll call on Mr. Richard Bell.
Good afternoon. We here at Kids First Initiative have been traveling around to some of the elementary schools, ITA, Owens, Real Rogers, and Pontiac, and Grant Graham Elementary in Auburn Hills to engage the students with three-dimensional learning with length, width, and depth. We have been sharing cross-curriculum hands-on activities in chemistry, technology, and the arts with the young people. Do you know some of these young people almost lost their minds? You would have thought a superstar walked in the building, and that's when I realized our young kids are the superstars, and science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics are the tools of their trade. There's a STEAM wave coming. I'm not telling you something I believe. I'm not telling you something I think. I'm telling you what the STEM professionals are telling us. I'm sharing with you what the educators and parents who have attended our camps and workshops are sharing with us. I'm presenting to you today what the kids are demonstrating to us. They want STEM today, they want STEAM tomorrow, and they are ready to change the world. All we have to do is provide a space where they can push the limits of creativity. On June the 18th through the 20th, Kids First Initiative will start the process at our summer STEAM camp at Hawkwoods Nature Center in Auburn Hills, Michigan. 2nd through 6th graders will experience the engineering design process, chemistry, the arts, creative design thinking, drones, and much more at this camp, where our goal is for the kids to do something every day they'll never forget. You can register your kids for the camp at kidsfirstinitiative.org or at 248-238-8234. We want to thank Commissioner Bowman, Commissioner Gengel, Commissioner Spitz for sponsoring a kid for camp. We are asking if you would sponsor a child for camp for $75 for 3 days. As always, we welcome all of you to come out and participate in the camp. Since I have a minute left, the young people are going to be the ones that are going to change things. In the next 10 years, according to the Department of Transportation, drone technology will add a potential $84 billion to the U.S. economy. And I think we need to start the conversation right here in Oakland County, in Michigan, in Pontiac, Auburn Hills, Troy, Waterford, how we can get our share of that. And so the young people will get a basic class in drone piloting at the camp. They'll get a chance to race the drones. They'll get a chance to crash the drones. And so that's why we're asking you guys to come out firsthand. People can tell you all day long what they do, but we want you to come out firsthand and see what we're doing here at Kids First Initiative. Mrs. Clark has been out, Mrs. Spitz has been out, Mrs. Jackson has been out, Mr. Bowman has been out. Come out and see where your money is going to. Make the best investment you can investing in a young person. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Please. Thank you, Commissioner Gershenson. Next on the list, we'll move on to Brother Thomas Zarafa.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. Brother Tom Zarafa, member of the Franciscan Order, and I am the pastoral assistant at the parish of Our Mother Perpetual Help, both in Oak Park and our Ferndale campuses. I'm here to advocate to put the RTA on the ballot this November. We have a number of our parishioners, especially on the Oak Park campus, who have no local access to any buses except for 9 Mile, which is clearly half a mile from our church property. And we know that we could increase the attendance in our parish if people could get to it. But there are no buses on Coolidge whatsoever. And according to the new RTA plan, there will actually be a bus on Coolidge going all the way out to Metro Airport, in fact. So we might even get parishioners coming from the airport. Who knows? That would be our dream. But I asked all of our commissioners, and I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, this is not a partisan issue. You got here somehow or another today through transportation. Some of us can't drive, but we need to have other forms of ways to get to where we want to go. So please consider that. Thank you for your support for the August primary to renew the millage, but we need to go farther than that. Let the voters speak. Our county executive does not speak for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Pam Zordell. Zordel. I'll get it right eventually. And then on deck, we have Molly Garther.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Pam Zordell. I'm founder of Puppy Mill Awareness of Southeast Michigan. And I was invited tonight to speak about some legislation about animals in Lansing that's pending, HB 5916 and HB 5917. These are two bills regarding pet stores that sell puppies and kittens. These two bills are actually really bad for animals and consumers. I'm asking the Oakland County Commissioners to sign a resolution opposing these two bills. Macomb and Genesee County have also passed resolutions opposing the bill because they're really preemption, which would take away the rights of local communities from protecting consumers and animals from passing their own local ordinances regarding pet stores. So my organization has drafted an ordinance that would prohibit the retail sale of kittens and puppies, and we've passed it in 3 cities, and it's becoming a trend. There's 260 communities across the country that have passed similar ordinances to combat the problem with puppy mills. I'm joined tonight by the Humane Society of the United States, and we're passing out some booklets about puppy mills and the problems. We have outlets here in Michigan. And there's another booklet about all the complaints that come with these pet stores. In there, there's a map. Michigan is ranked one of the highest in complaints because of Petland Novi. It's a very high volume puppy store that sells a lot of sick animals. So we're trying to pass these ordinances to protect consumers. And the bills in Lansing would prevent us from passing local ordinances. And they're disguised as animal welfare. They are not. So I just was asked to come tonight to tell you a little bit high level, and I'm going to send a fact sheet to all the commissioners about the 2 bills. And Commissioner Gershenson said that she would introduce the resolution, and I hope that you would oppose these 2 bills and send a message that we want to keep the power to protect consumers in our local communities. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you, Pam. Next, we have Molly. Sorry, I probably abused your last name. On deck, we have Nicole Braden.
My name is Molly Gartner. I live in Madison Heights. My husband and I have 3 sons, and I'm here to support the RTA proposal and hopefully to vote on it in the fall. My family of 5, currently we have 2 cars. I can't afford 5 cars and the insurance on 5 cars especially with having teenage and young adult sons, the insurance is prohibitive. We're a typical middle-class family. My husband and I both work in Detroit, And my oldest son just graduated from Wayne State, and he works in Detroit. And my husband sometimes takes the fast bus down Woodward, which is a huge and vast improvement over what the buses used to be, but there's still big holes in our busing system. My middle son just got accepted to Wayne State in their School of Engineering. He's going to be a junior there this fall. He works in, we live in Madison Heights, he works in Troy. When he was looking at what schools to transfer to, Oakland University is inaccessible to us on public transit right now. You can't get a bus to Oakland University before 9:15 in the morning, so if you have a 9 a.m. class, there's no way you can use public transportation to get there. There are big holes in the times buses are available. My youngest son just graduated from Clawson High School, and for the past 3 years has been dual enrolled at OCC Royal Oak. And to get from his high school to campus at Royal Oak, it took him 3 buses and an hour and a half every day to travel from the high school to Royal Oaks campus, which is a 10-mile car trip. But he'd have to take the 14-mile bus to Woodward, the Woodward bus down, because the Main Street bus in Clawson only runs until 9 a.m. and then doesn't start up again until 3 p.m. And so our public transit system is just inadequate. We are a region. You know, we live and work in different cities and go to school in different cities, and there should be buses to move between the cities. So that's what I would like you to support, letting us vote. And thank you for your time, and I hope you use your influence to get this on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. Next, we have Nicole Braden. On deck is Regina Weiss.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Braden, and I'm here on behalf of Tim, who lives in Clarkston. He lives in my community, and he would really benefit from the RTA. He says, if I had the ability to get out on my own terms without having to ask people who are reluctant or resentful to drive me, it would make me want to do more. I'm also here on behalf of my son. He also has spina bifida. He's 14 years old, and he does plan to attend college, and he doesn't want his mom driving him to school. So I would like to advocate for him that he has the ability to get to college on his own, because he may or may not be able to drive himself. And my own statement is, transit matters because not everyone can afford owning and maintaining a car, especially with their incredibly expensive auto insurance and the potential repair bills due to our crumbling roads. Let the people vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicole. Next, we have Regina Weiss, and on deck we have Rabbi Yanni Dallin.
Hello, thank you for allowing me to speak. I serve on the Oak Park City Council, so I represent the City of Oak Park residents. And I'm here today because, like others, I want to urge a vote on regional transit this fall. We need this to go on the ballot. We rely on it for our economic development, and also, as we've heard from several people who've already spoken, many of our residents rely on it just to get around and be able to function in our society. I've heard a lot of arguments over the past few years from county leadership about why we shouldn't be voting on this. And I just think it's important to highlight the fact that one argument that I often hear is that the 9 communities in Oakland County that have opted out of SMART they voted to opt out, so it's undemocratic to force them in order to accept this proposal, but that's in fact not true. When SMART went to the ballot in 1995, those communities were not allowed to vote on it whatsoever. It was not put to the voters to vote on it, and they haven't been allowed to vote on it since then. So the residents in those communities have never voted to opt into SMART. And so to me, the only thing that's undemocratic here is not allowing people to vote. It's my understanding that my commissioner, Helene Zach, along with some other commissioners here today, have put forward or are going to put forward a resolution urging support of the trans RTA of a proposal to go to the ballot this fall. And I just urge everyone here today, no matter what your political party, to please let people vote. Let the residents decide. This is not your decision to make. And then in addition, in my minute I have left, I just also want to say that I want to urge Oakland County to act to come into compliance with HUD. I know that's been in the news recently. We need to provide equitable housing to all Oakland County residents, not just some of them. As a representative of Oak Park, we rely on that federal money, and I don't want that money to be in jeopardy because we refuse to come into compliance with the Housing of Urban Development. So please act on that issue as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Regina. Next, we have Rabbi Yanni, and on deck we have Kristen Milichik. Hope I said that right.
Good evening, commissioners. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rabbi Yoni Dahlin. I am a rabbi at Congregation Sharet Tzedek in Southfield. I'm speaking tonight because I feel like I have an obligation to speak tonight and to put RTA on the ballot in November in this fall. We learn in the Talmud, which is one of the sacred texts in Judaism, that the rabbis come to a decision where they say that to embarrass someone is akin to killing them, which seems just like a beautiful thing to say, but when we actually take it seriously, and what I would like to consider is that we do take it seriously, is that we come up with a really profound idea that human dignity is equal to human life. And when we allow people to live a dignified life where they are capable of going to work, like everyone else has the ability to go to work, when people have the ability to go to the grocery store to get food, healthy food for their communities and for their families, when all of us have the same opportunity to be able to be afforded the rights that is parallel with human dignity, then all of us benefit. So what I'm asking for this evening is that really this is an issue of life and death if we take that idea seriously. And when it comes to human dignity, the issue of life should be a resounding and positive yes to every single individual in this room. So thank you everyone for your time. And thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Rabbi. We have Kristen Milichik. On deck, we have David Jaffe. Kristen, I think you have, is that one working?
Hello, I'm Kristen Milevchuk. I was born with a form of muscular dystrophy and I'm a lifelong wheelchair user. I was Miss Wheelchair Michigan 2015 and traveled the state during my reign to advocate on my platform for the rights of people with disabilities to be fully included in their community by receiving adequate home and community-based care services. I graduated with my BA in social work in 2015 from Oakland University and with my MA in social work from Wayne State University just this year in May. I'm on the board of directors of United Cerebral Palsy Detroit, and I've worked in the public mental health system advocating and protecting rights of individuals with developmental disabilities and mental illnesses that receive services. And I'm now the founder of ADAPT of Southeast Michigan. And yet, accomplishments and years of hard work and passion I've put in to reach these goals aside, my continuing success is threatened each day by the lack of transportation options available to me in our region. My lift-equipped vehicle has over 190,000 miles on it, and is on its last legs. I cannot afford to buy a new one as they cost over double the amount of a typical non-accessible vehicle, about $55,000 on average. People are surprised when I explain insurance doesn't help with the cost of adaptations to vehicles to make them accessible, and that assistance with these costs is practically non-existent in our state. Simply ask around the disabled community about getting any government assistance with these expenses. Furthermore, transportation is the #1 cited problem for people with disabilities in the country, keeping more than 500,000 people prisoners of their own homes, unable to leave them at all. It's shameful that as a major metropolitan region, we are a big part of these statistics. Being in last place in public transportation of any major metropolitan region in the country is inexcusable. Take a look at all these signs back here. These are real people of our region who are suffering, people with disabilities, and they aren't the only ones affected. Our economy suffers by keeping all those who are unable or cannot afford to drive trapped. These are people like Beth from White Lake, who has to take her wheelchair to work in all types of weather just to be a contributing member of our society. Or Tim in Clarkston, who has lost his motivation to even try because of his reliance on people who don't want to or don't have time to drive him. They deserve better. We all deserve better. As leaders, it's your duty to stick up for all your people, not the selfish intent of a couple of men who are blocking the opportunity of their people to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Krista. Next, we have David Jaffe. And after David, we have Brett McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I'd like to speak tonight about why you as commissioners should not only allow a vote on this proposal, but you should support it for the benefit of the entirety of Oakland County. We need a regional transportation solution for economic development in this county because it will allow people to get to the jobs that our employers need, as we, particularly in a full employment time that we have now. I went to the University of Chicago after growing up in Huntington Woods and before returning to Birmingham and studied economics, a bastion of market economics. And for the market to work, people need to have choices and equal opportunities. And that, you need the timer on, by the way. I'll try and be brief anyway. For us to have an efficient market operating in our county, we need people to have actual access to the employment opportunities that we have. For our employers to be able to operate efficiently, their employees need access to employment. For our educational system to work effectively, students have to be able to get to school, as you've heard stories tonight. For us to be still the leader among counties that you and your colleagues and your predecessors have made us, we need an effective transit system. I would urge you as greatly as I can to take account of the stories of individuals who need transit that you're hearing tonight. Each of them is worthy. But I'd ask you also to consider the need of the county as a whole, that in this era, this modern area, we need to have a modern transit system, and you should be advocates for it rather than preventing the people from having an opportunity to decide on it. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Brett McDonald, and then Erica Parisman is on deck. Brett McDonald? Brett? Okay, great, thank you. Erica Parisman, and then on deck we have Eric Linder.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. I too support putting this transit issue on the ballot so the voters of Oakland County can decide whether we support it or not. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I went to college in Chicago. I went to law school in the Bay Area of California. And after working in San Francisco for a while, I moved to Detroit, moved to actually Birmingham. One of the many shocks that I encountered when I moved here was the lack of public transportation. It was really shocking to me. All of the places that I had lived previously had functioning public transit systems. And in fact, I only owned a car, in all those years, I only owned a car for a very short period of time when I was in law school, and it was, one of these, 30-year-old cars or something that I had access to. I'd also like to point out, many of us have children who live outside of Michigan. They have chosen not to come back to Michigan. And one of the reasons, one of our daughters lives in New York City, she doesn't own a car and she doesn't want to own a car. She's 26 years old, and like many of her peers, she just wants to take public transportation to work. And so her moving back to Michigan is simply not an option, because that's not an option here. Another person in my life, my next door neighbor. My next door neighbor lives with his parents. He's developmentally disabled. He has a job, but he's been unable to get a driver's license. He's taken lessons many times, and he's just unable to drive. He relies on his parents to take him to and from work, and his parents worry what will happen when they're not around to take care of him anymore and to ensure that he can get to and from work. And in fact, I worry. I have a car. I get along just fine right now. I'm very lucky to be able to afford a car and the insurance. But when I'm older, I may not be able to drive, and I want to retain my independence, and public transit is an issue when deciding where I want to live as an older person. And right now, Oakland County is not coming up very high when we look at public transit, as well as other issues of where we want to retire to. So thank you. I hope you will support it.
Thank you, Erica. Perfect timing. Next, we have Eric Linder, and on deck, we have Megan Owens.
Good evening, Commissioner. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eric Linder, and I too am here to help put my shoulder to the wheel to put the Regional Transit Authority on the ballot this fall. I live in the township, not in Bloomfield Hills, but my life has been intimately connected with Bloomfield Hills for many, many years. My family moved here from here, that is to Michigan, from South America in 1959, and we worshiped at Christ Church Cranbrook. That is still my church. From 1989 until 2013, I was on the faculty at Cranbrook Schools. And at church, I found myself in the happy position of helping coordinate one of the weeks of the South Oakland Shelter, which moves all around South Oakland County, for those of you who know it. And sometime in the late 90s, I discovered that the system we had relied on, which was the Woodward bus, which would allow us to get clients onto a middle of the night, let's say 4:30 in the morning bus, to get to work, suddenly wasn't available. It had ceased to exist in Bloomfield Hills. I'm humbled by the stories that my predecessors have told tonight, because nothing has affected me personally that way. But ever since that night, I have been seeing men and women, all too often African-American men and women and young people, having to walk north from Corton Road or south from Hickory Grove because their work at nursing homes like Woodward Hills, retirement homes like Cedarbrook, or the restaurants that cluster around Long Lake and Woodward, they don't have cars. And Bloomfield Hills does not allow sidewalks. They walk in all kinds of weather in the gutter. And I ask how many of us who had to face those obstacles to get to jobs would find them acceptable. But the people of Bloomfield Hills seem to think that they are acceptable, even though those same men and women are caring for their relatives in the nursing homes or serving them their meals in the restaurants. Besides that, of course, I entirely agree that this metro area, which I hope to see continue its resurrection before I pass on to my own, that this community will begin to attract high-level industry, good jobs, for all the good reasons that we need such a system. Not to mention the basic human fairness, as another one of the speakers tonight has said, to the men and women who have to overcome these obstacles to get to work. Please let the people decide this question. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Megan Owens, and on deck, Jack Schulzbach.
You get quite the challenge of pronouncing these names, don't you? Well, thank you so much, Mr. Chair, members, for this opportunity to speak. My name is Megan Owens, and I'm wearing a couple of hats tonight. I serve both as the Executive Director of Transportation Riders United, a nonprofit group that has worked for nearly 20 years on getting more and better public transportation throughout Southeast Michigan. I've also had the honor to serve for almost a decade on the Oakland County Public Transit Authority, as you all know, the body that helps coordinate the SMART millage and hires the SMART for their service in the communities that they serve. And I also actually in 2014 was ran the Keep Smart Rolling campaign. I bring up all of these different hats because there have been a lot of misperceptions and myths, really, about the impact that RTA would have on SMART, and I want to take a moment to clarify some of those. One is this idea that somehow SMART or RTA is a threat to SMART, and that they can't both operate. The reality is many metro regions across the country do have multiple transit providers, and but what's different in a Chicago or a Dallas or a San Francisco is that they have a strong transit authority that coordinates the lots of different providers. And even more so, the RTA is not going to be a provider. It is designed to ensure that the gaps in the system are filled in and that SMART and DDOT and the other providers are coordinated well together. So it is not trying to overtake in some way or replace. The other misperception that I often hear is that, well, SMART can provide everything we need. And I'll be the first to tell you, SMART does an incredible job. Their management, their staff work very hard. There are over 30,000 people every single day who depend on on SMART to get where they need to go. But they can't get everywhere. As people have mentioned here, you can't get to places in Novi, Rochester, Bloomfield Hills, let alone further north or west. So SMART cannot provide all of the services we need. The RTA is essential both for connecting to all of these unserved areas as well as for connecting elsewhere like in Washtenaw County and for getting funds for federal funds for rapid transit, which again, the SMART cannot do. So there's a number of other myths and misperceptions, but the base message is SMART does a very important service, but it's not enough. Supporting RTA will allow for an expansion, allow for more and better transit throughout the region, and support the important work of SMART. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Jack. On deck, we have Charlotte Massey.
My name is Jack Schutzbach. Thank you, commissioners, for hearing us this evening. I'm here as a citizen in Oakland County, but I've spent my career in the Metro Detroit area as a human resources leader. And I can tell you over my career how many, the difficulty we've had recruiting over the years, and the problems we've had with so many employees trying to get to and from work with reliable transportation issues, especially right here in Oakland County, where we have Pontiac, which with still higher than average unemployment rates and people without cars, and we have Rochester Hills and Auburn Hills right next door, and they have all kinds of help wanted signs. So for Oakland County, I think it's critical, but I don't think it's an Oakland County issue. I think it's a regional issue, and trying to recruit companies and trying to get talented employees to the region, I think that regional transportation would be a big help for us. So all we're asking for is to let this make it to the ballot. And you are a big part in making that happen, so I hope you will support that. Then it's up to the RTA to get the word out to everyone else, but we got to get it on the ballot first. So just please support this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next we have Charlotte. Charlotte Massey. Charlotte? And on deck we have Kermit Williams.
This is the mic, right? Hello, my name's Charlotte Massey. Thank you for hearing me. I live in Royal Oak. I've lived here for 20 years. I just retired last year. I never have used public transport in my entire time in Michigan. I haven't needed to. I've had a car. But I've watched this city, this region, develop and grow, and it's at a point now where I think it could really take off. Not just Oakland County, but Detroit, Macomb, the entire region. It's a very exciting time for this region. But it's stymied by the lack of transit. I've lived in other parts of the world. I've lived in London, New York, Paris, Washington, D.C. Every one of those world-class cities has had world-class transit. People are not afraid of each other. They get on the bus, they get on the subway, they go from where they need to go to where they need to get to. And I don't understand why this initiative is being blocked from even appearing on the ballot. I think that if people in Oakland County and also Macomb had the opportunity to vote, I think it would pass. I think it needs to pass if this region, if the Detroit metropolitan region is to grow and to revitalize. Otherwise, I think we're dead in the water. And that's all I have to say, and I hope that you will support allowing it on the ballot. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kermit, and on deck we have Jeffrey Clue.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. It's good to see all of you guys, and I want to thank you for all of the hard work that you do here at Oakland County and all the assistance that you have offered to the city of Pontiac. I want to talk really quickly about two different issues. I am the City Council President of the city of Pontiac. The district in which I serve has 33% of the people out of that 8,700 don't have vehicles. And this is an opportunity issue. And so people need the ability to not only make a living, but to make a life. And some of the best paying jobs are miles away, and regional transit can make that happen. The second issue, in my day job, I work for one of the largest federally qualified healthcare centers, and we don't turn anybody away. We do mental, dental, and behavioral services. Some of our funding comes from this particular county. And one of the major issues we have in serving our 13,000 people is transportation. I believe we can double those numbers if the RTA was approved by the citizens of this state of Michigan. But one of the reasons that we have to put it on the ballot is because people desire choice. And for us to be one of the third richest county in the United States, and to have one of the poorest transportation systems connecting through the state is atrocious. And the way to fix that is by allowing the people to vote, allowing the people to decide, and making regional transit a real responsibility and a real priority, because right now the county looks really good. But we need to be able to compete 40 and 50 years from now. 50 years ago, the city of Pontiac was what everybody talked about. But because we didn't have real good planning, look at the city now, and we're getting back to a place where we're sustainable. But it took us almost 50 years to get back to that point. We can't afford to go the same way as the county because we look short-sightedly and say right now we've got good cars. But in the future, we have a whole lofts and everything downtown that help get built with not only county money but state money. And we've got young people that want to travel and they don't want to use cars. They want to ride bikes. The one thing that we're studying right now and the county's helping us do is talk about walkability. Well, where are you going to walk to if you don't have a bus? So thank you for your time. I want to make sure that the message is clear. We just want the people to be able to decide and the people to be able to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Jeffrey Clue. Jeffrey? Jeffrey? Klein. I'm sorry, it looks like a W. And on deck we have Gwen Markham.
With your permission, could I speak this way? Because the people I'm trying to convince, I don't think I can persuade you looking at part of my body, quite honestly. I'm a physician. I was born in Detroit in 1958, lived through the riots in 1967. Went to Wayne State Medical School, and I practiced in Detroit, Michigan. I look at myself as a centrist, which means I don't agree with anyone these days. But amazingly enough, I do agree with a few things I've heard today. I'm an internist. I take care of people from the age of about 13 to about 105 with concentrations around 80. If you don't have mobility, you don't have dignity. It's that simple. You need mobility in our society. Without it, you don't have a chance. On the other hand, that's the humanitarian part of me. The other part is, I'm a small business owner. The economy is great right now. Ever talk to small business owners? What's the problem? They have business. Can they get employees? It's hard to get employees. It's extremely difficult to get employees. Now, it used to be at one point in time in this country, you could get immigrants. It's probably not going to happen for better or for worse right now. What you need is people to come out to where you are. You need the mobility. You need it for your economic development. So I turn to people I hate to label. On the left, look at the humanity. Look at the dignity. I look to people on the right who may be more economically driven. Look at the economics. Your small business owners are going to be starving. Look at any place that has a small business, they have a help wanted sign right now. You need the people where they're needed, and you need mobility for that. And also, I lived through the riots of 1967. I've witnessed the conditions and the relationships of race in our society. I went to an elementary school, we were worried about the rumbles when black kids came in. And I didn't know what a rumble was. And now I have a black partner who educates me what her life is really like. I'm not condemning Mr. Patterson, but I think he's looking at the fears of yesterday rather than the promise of tomorrow. And I think it's time. I think it's overtime. It's time to act, people. Let us vote.
Thank you. Gwen? And then on deck, we have Martin Baum.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the Commission. My name is Gwen Markham, and I have served as a Novi City Council member for the last 5 years. I'm here tonight to talk about specifically the lack of transit in Novi. 23 years ago, in 1995, 6 members of the Novi City Council voted to opt out of the SMART bus system, and all bus service to Novi stopped. At the time, we had about 30,000 residents. Since then, except for senior transit shuttles, there's been no other public transportation available for people who live and work in our city. And times have changed. Today, Novi has over 61,000 residents. We have 4 large malls, a full-service regional hospital, and the largest privately owned, non-casino-based convention center in the United States, the Suburban Collection Showplace. I was there today as they celebrated the opening of the State Fair and the expansion of the facilities. It is an amazing place. Novi and Oakland County are really lucky to have it, but you can't get there on a bus. According to the latest SEMCOG figures, there are over 22,000 retail, hospitality, and healthcare jobs in Novi. Over 50,000 people come and go from the city every day, twice a day. Farmington Hills, Livonia, Southfield, and Detroit are the major destinations for Novi residents going to work, and the same cities are home to the workers in Novi who don't live here. Everyone travels by car. Anyone trying to ride a bus to their job in Novi must get off at Haggerty Road in Farmington and walk the rest of the way, and that is an absolute truth, all kinds of weather. The head of Ascension Providence Hospital tells me his organization is in favor of transit, not so much for their patients, because the hospital has contracts with private agencies for that, but the staff is another story. They share rides to work, and many don't have cars of their own. And when the ride is unavailable, the hospital loses 3 or 4 workers at one time. There are students from Novi trying to get to Oakland Community College, Lawrence Tech, Schoolcraft College, Wayne State that could all benefit from reliable bus service. 2 years ago, the RTA lost in Novi by 2%. Over 12,000 people said yes. And my colleagues on City Council have asked for changes since then, and they've been incorporated into the new RTA proposal. Last week, our council issued a resolution asking that this transit be on the ballot this year. We think waiting for 2 more years before we try again is unacceptable. I ask this board to support putting the RTA Connect Southeast Michigan plan before the voters in November of this year. We need cooperation among government agencies to establish the infrastructure of the future. Work with the RTA, let them make their case to the people, and then let the voters decide for themselves whether this long-range plan for our region is something they want and something they're willing to pay for. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Martin Bond. On deck, we have Sherry Wells.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Martin Baum. I'm a lawyer in Royal Oak. And I'm also a member of the Motor City Freedom Riders. We support the SMART millage in the August primary. But we're also asking you to allow onto the ballot the regional transit plan for the November ballot. The plans are not inconsistent. What the RTA proposes to do is build on the system of SMART and DDOT. And so voting for SMART, which is essential because it's going to be building on SMART, is not inconsistent with supporting the RTA in November. Our young people are moving downtown and to Hamtramck and Corktown and Midtown, and they want an urban experience. The urban experience they want is with public transportation. They don't want cars whose auto insurance premiums are even higher than their car notes. The SMART system is designed to make the newest technologies available. Building on buses, there will be autonomous vehicles, Lyft, Uber, ride sharing, and the new technologies that come along that we don't even know about, but that are exploding every day. So building on the SMART system to make the regional transit work will be connecting all of us together. And I want you to think about one thing. Our Oakland County executive is opposed to this. But, you know, he's been involved. He was disabled from a motor vehicle accident himself. Sure, as the county executive, he's chauffeur-driven. But that's not going to last forever. And at some point, he's not going to be the Oakland County executive. And he won't have a chauffeur-driven car. And he's going to be facing the things that other people that have been here in the spoken to us today about is going to happen. So put this on the ballot. Allow this to come to the people to vote. It's in our best interest, in the best interest of this county, to become a first-tier county and a first-tier region, so that we can attract the kind of businesses and retain them that have been discussed this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Sherry Wells, and on deck, we have Christopher Debs.
Good evening, Sherry Wells, last year's chair of the Michigan Green Party. The Green Party has 4 pillars, and 3 of them relate to the transit issue. The first is the environment. I like the meme that shows 1 bus replacing 40 cars. We would not be having to replace our roads as often if we had fewer cars on them. And one of the things I've noticed when I'm riding buses is it's a lot of fun. There's a camaraderie from the regular bus riders that I don't get driving in my car alone. The second pillar is social justice, and you've heard about that in terms of elderly, disabled, children and older people needing to get to classes, whether it's high school or college and universities, to get to jobs, to get to health care. There are times where my car hasn't worked, where I shouldn't be driving it on bad brakes. I got dumped off and had to walk 1.5 miles to a wedding at Cranbrook. It was good weather, and it was a casual dress. That helped. And to go to my church. I went to Birmingham Unitarian for a while, and I had to do the same thing, walk 1.5 miles to go from there. And I'm thinking, this is strange, and no sidewalks. So the social justice and just socializing is a very important thing. The third of the 4 pillars is grassroots democracy, and you've heard that tonight. Let the people vote.
Thank you, Sharon. Next, we have Christopher Debs.
Good evening. My name is Christopher Debs. I'm 26 years old, and I want to explain why regional transit means a lot to me, both personally and professionally. Professionally, I'm a hotel general manager, and I have trouble recruiting employees. But first, I'm going to share a personal story. About 2 years ago, I suffered from a medical condition that caused me to lose my eyesight temporarily. I lived in Novi and worked in Roseville, which is a very, very long drive. It's a long drive, 45 minutes to begin with, but there is no public transit that connects the 2 cities together from where I live in Novi, or lived in Novi at the time, and Roseville. So I was faced with the unfortunate option that I either had to lose my job, which I had worked very hard for, 10 years in the hospitality industry. I had literally been promoted to general manager 2 months before this all happened. So I had to give up the job I had worked so hard for, or basically spend all the money I was earning on Lyft and Uber. I chose to take rideshare, and it cost me about $2,100 a month for that trip, both ways. That's insane. Had I not been making a good income, I would have been totally bankrupt. There's no way I could have done it. I would have just lost my job and been out. It's insane to me why this has not been a bigger issue. It's a human rights issue. It's just so unfair that people are unable to get to and from work. I also, as a general manager, have trouble recruiting employees because my employees are afraid to drive because either they have a car that will break down or no insurance or no car at all. I mean, making $9.25 an hour, it's like, how are they going to even afford to own a vehicle? It just doesn't, the math doesn't add up when they have a house or an apartment and trying to own a vehicle. I see their checks. Their checks are less than $600 every 2 weeks. There's just no way to own a car on that low of an income. It's just impossible. So, I mean, if we can somehow find a way to bring regional transit to a vote, I think the people will decide the right thing, and maybe it will. I think it will move our region forward as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Christopher was the last one that signed up on the list. If there's anybody else in the audience that would like to come forward and be recognized, please do so. Please. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
I just wanted to kind of wrap it up. My name is Nicole Gowan. I am a representative of Detroit Wayne County Mental Health Authority. I am also a constituent voice member and all kinds of different things. So I want to just say 2 different things real fast because I know about that timer. I have post-traumatic stress disorder since childhood. I also have seizures, so I stopped working 12 years ago. I am a Livonia resident, so I'm over here representing. I am a Livonia resident for 22 years, taking that independence just like a senior citizen. When they say no more driving, they're right. Because I work with mental health and I'm a public advocate and speaker, I want everyone to remember today the mental health issues right now. To be able to go out, we're talking about inclusion, seclusion, that transit. For me, I live in Livonia, and to make those board meetings and those other meetings that I am a part of, to go to Lafayette in downtown Detroit, Being in Livonia for 22 years, Smart Bus, I can't walk far. Smart Bus will not come to my driveway. It's there with the mental health. Your stigma, they're at home. I call them our youngins. We had youngins here a little while ago, and the gleam and the smile on their face. You see that whole high school for robotics. Then we have these posters of the youngins that couldn't come here today because of transportation. We have youngins from a soft soul, young at heart, which I've always promoted, from 18 to, let's say, 35 and tipping. That's the young in heart, especially in mental health. They're not getting out there. This is our future. We need to get them out of the homes, out of seclusion into conclusion. I'm sorry I'm babbling here. Just remember that there's a lot going on with our young, with mental health and our future, and it has to do with them being at home, not getting out. When there's people at home and they have a job and they decide if they want to go or not, then, sir and ma'am, you have the ones that have a disability and they have goosebumps. They want to work. They want to get out there. They're ready. They can't. I want to tell you one more thing is, I was asked to be an ambassador for Wayne County Mental Health. It's hard because how am I going to go to my trainings? How am I going to be ambassador to go everywhere and to promote mental health and stigma and our young groups and workforce, all that stuff? So with that, it makes me shake and I go back into my territory because it's the same thing. I will be an ambassador, but all the obstacles that I go through and everyone else will have to go through. So that's all I just wanted to remind everyone. But we saw all that smiling and all the young people today, and we need to make sure everybody that's young and old are smiling. So that's it.
Thank you very much. Anyone else willing to speak? They're in public comment. Yes, sir. Please come forward.
Say this one thing to you, and I'll be very brief. Part of the job is keeping an eye on the future for all of the citizens of the county. Very important part of the job. There are others, but that's a key one. Not the one I'm most drawn to, but that's about my skills and what I can do. You have an opportunity as a unit of government to demonstrate integrity like you've never had before, and I hope you do that. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else willing to speak? Please come forward, sir. Can you please state your name and address for the record? Thank you.
Address as well? My name is Medvis Jackson. I live in Detroit, Michigan. So I just moved back to Detroit in August from New York City. I grew up here and left for school and worked there for 6 years. So when I was living out there, or I've also lived in Boston and also Chicago, if folks wanted me to go far out, like to Westchester, Long Island, it was no problem. I would just jump on the train or the bus and get out there. But with Detroit, when people tell me, like I have buddies who live in, I went to UD Jesuit High School, for example, and they're like, oh, do you want to come to Ferndale or Royal Oak? It's really not that far of a drive from my house, but because I prefer to use mass transit since I've moved back, I'm usually like, maybe I'll catch you on the weekend if I borrow my brother's car or my mom's car, but I'm not going to hang out with you guys tonight. I'd rather just spend my money in Midtown or downtown. So whereas in other cities, I'm able to go out to any suburb and spend my money and, you know, buy a meal or buy a movie and hang out with friends, I can't really do that in Michigan. I'm pretty much tied down to Detroit. And so I think that, you know, even as a Wayne County resident, you all are missing out on us being able to come explore, you know, your beautiful county. Today was my first time in a long while being in Pontiac. My dad immigrated to the U.S. and worked in Pontiac, and I had gone out there with him, but I'd never been to downtown. I pretty much would go to his workplace, and he would drive us back to Detroit. I didn't realize how beautiful the architecture was in Pontiac, and how many, you know, really nice facilities you all had in terms of restaurants and venues. Many other people in Detroit, you know, there's stigma about us being troublemakers. I'm probably not a troublemaker. You know, I work, I go, you know, I do everything I'm supposed to do, and I would go out there to a show if I had a way to get out there. But it's not easy. So I would think about that in terms of economic development. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else looking to make comment during public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public comment and move on to reports of standing committee, which moves us to the consent agenda. I'll take a motion by Hoffman, support by Zach for the consent agenda. Any comments on the consent agenda? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Commissioners Crawford, Fleming, Gershenson, Gingell, Hoffman, Jackson, Kokendorfer, Kowal,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
McGilvray, Middleton,
Yes.
Quarles, Spiz,
Yes.
Taub, Teets, Weipert, Woodward,
Yes.
Zach, Berman, Bowman. Mr. Chair, you have 19 yeas, 0 nays.
Consent agenda has been approved. We'll move on to the next item of business, which we have nothing under a regular agenda, which moves us to reports of special committees, which I don't believe we have any. Special orders of business, we don't have any. Unfinished business, we don't have any. So it moves us to new and miscellaneous business, which I know we have some. So please, since the back mic doesn't work, if your mic at your desk works, you can go ahead and use it unless you want to be loud. Commissioner Teets. Without objection, refer to finance. Commissioner Zach. Without objection, refer to finance. Without objection, refer to finance. Commissioner Quarles. Without objection, refer to finance. Great. We have a motion by Quarles to suspend the rules, supported by Bowman. It's a non-debatable motion, so roll call, please.
Commissioners Fleming? Yes. Gershenson? Yes. Hoffman? Yes. Jackson? Yes. Kokendorfer? Yes. Kowal?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
McGilvray? Yes. Middleton?
Yes.
Quarles? Yes. Spiz?
Yes.
Taub? Yes. Teets? Yes. Weipert? Yes. Woodward?
Yes.
Zach? Yes. Berman? Yes. Bowman? Yes. Crawford? Yes. Mr. Chair, you have 19 yeas, 0 nays.
Great. The rules have been suspended. Now we'll move on to the motion, or the resolution on the floor. We have a motion by Quarles, supported by Bowman. Commissioner Quarles, comments. Any other comment on the resolution? Seeing none, roll call on the resolution, please.
Commissioners Gershenson? Yes. Hoffman? Yes. Jackson? Kokendorfer? Yes. Kowal?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
McGilvray? Yes. Middleton?
Yes.
Quarles? Yes. Spiz?
Yes.
Taub? Yes. Teets? Yes. Weipert? Yes. Woodward?
Yes.
Zach? Yes. Berman? Yes. Bowman? Sorry. Okay. Crawford? Yes. Fleming? Yes. Mr. Chair, you have 19 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Resolution has been approved. Thank you very much. Anything else to come before us? Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've got two resolutions. I want to introduce resolution sponsorship of the 2018 Arts, Beats, and Eats Festival on behalf of myself and Commissioner Gingell, and refer that to Finance.
Without objection, refer to Finance.
Thank you. And then I have another resolution. And I think it's important, I mean, if I may, Mr. Chair, I think there's been a lot of things raised today and I want to make sure everyone in the room is clear and everyone at home that's watching is clear that this body doesn't approve or doesn't approve, support or oppose putting an RTA ballot proposal on the ballot. And so as one, the RTA, the Regional Transit Authority Board, where we do have 2 Oakland County representatives, do that. And I don't think it's any secret that I had planned last week to come into this meeting one way or another to take a vote today. But because of all the voices that are in this room, because of the openness of all of my colleagues around this on this board, I am proud to introduce a resolution urging regional leaders to continue discussion related to improving transit in Oakland County and the region, including in their language, working towards getting a plan to, with the goal of letting voters decide this question November 18 and add our voice to that, and to say that we're introducing this resolution with something that yesterday I didn't know was possible, but with 11 commissioners, a majority of this board, and ask that its proposal be referred to the Economic Development Committee for consideration. But a majority of our commissioners in this board have co-sponsored this resolution, deserve worthy to be considered, and I'm looking for its passage. I refer to Economic Development.
Without objection, refer to Economic Development. Was that? All right, any other new or miscellaneous business to come before us? Seeing none, any announcements? I know we have to have some announcements. I know June 19th is a big date. Somebody gonna make that announcement? I guess I'll make the announcement. On June 19th, we're having a press conference here for our Gun Safety Awareness Day. I believe it's at 1 o'clock. So hope everyone can attend. Any other announcements? Seeing none, I'll call us adjourned until July 19th, 2018, at 9:30 a.m. or